Welcome to part 18 of my series looking at Russ Miller's 50 Facts versus Darwinism in the textbooks. This is going to be, I think, my favorite part of this series, only because Russ is discussing human evolution, which is a topic you guys may know is very near and dear to me. It's a field I almost went into professionally, academically. I didn't. I went for invertebrate zoology instead. However, I try to keep current in the field, and I taught Intro to Human Evolution in college. So we're going to get started here.
Well, you might be thinking, well, come on, Russ, what about the ape men? We've all been shown the ape men. Here's a brand new textbook showing mankind connected to everything on Earth with a nice red line. I mean, what more could you want for proof than a nice red line, right? How about some missing links?
That's right. Once again, you nailed us, Russ. Our evidence is just those red lines. We don't actually have, any molecular data, fossil data, retroviral insertion data. None of that stuff. We don't have any of it. We just it's all just those red lines in high school textbooks. That's really where we get all of our evidence from.
This is Java Man. It was probably the first major supposed missing link found by Eugene Du Bois in 1891. They had found the skull cap of an ape and the thigh bone, the femur of a human. They were found in the same general area, and thus was born Java Man. They failed to point out that humans in the area ate brains all the time, so finding the skull cap near a human bone was nothing spectacular.
All right, Java Man. This is going to be fun because I'm going to show you guys what a bunch of inconsistent lying assholes these creationists really are. Check this out. What you're looking at here is the famous Java Man skull cap found in Java, obviously, by Eugene Du Bois. Now, this is the skull cap that no matter practically any creationist source you pick, I'm specifically looking at Gish, but choose your own, make the claim that this skull cap, like Russ said, is nothing but an ape. And in fact, they all go on to say almost the same thing, that this was an ape that was obviously eaten by people. True humans ate this. And that's all it is. No more, no less. Just an extinct giant gibbon or whatever the hell they want to call it. But just for shits and giggles, let's take a look at this. Now, this skull is called WT15000, also known as the Turkana boy from East Africa. This skull, now I'm going to quote Gish here, but you'll again find the same thing across the board in creationist sources. They say that this skull is a small-brained but otherwise perfectly modern human, right? And in fact, Gish says that the only reason we call it Homo erectus / ergaster is because we can't believe that a true Homo sapiens would have lived 1.6 million years ago. In other words, our evolutionary bias is telling us that this has to be an extinct hominid because it couldn't be a modern human. In other words, this skull is perfectly modern, even though it's got a slightly smaller brain. And I found on the Talk Origins website, there's a great page, I'll put a link down below, they compare the two. So let's take a look at them. Okay, now the top is the Java Man skull cap. Below it is WT1500. And on the right, they've overlaid the two. Now, is it just me, or is that a pretty good fucking fit? So that ape skull fits dead on with a perfectly modern human skull by Gish's estimation. Hopefully you guys can see the hypocrisy, the inconsistency, whatever, okay?
This was the messiah for evolution for about 45 years, from around 1910, 1912 to the mid-1950s, Piltdown Man. What was found was the skull cap of a human and the jawbone of an ape. And thus was born Piltdown Man. It was used as proof of evolution at the Scopes trial between the teaching of creation and evolution. It's one of the major reasons evolution got into the textbooks. After misleading not millions, but billions of people into rejecting Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, it was proven that these guys had taken the skull cap of a human and the jawbone from an orangutan and filed them down to fit together, acid-treated both sides, and buried them in a rock quarry for 2 years, and came along and discovered Piltdown man and spent the rest of their lives as world-renowned evolutionists. Mind-boggling. Proven a fraud finally in the mid-1950s.
You know what? I covered Piltdown Man extensively in my earlier series to Russ Miller. I don't really have the patience to do it again. I'm just simply going to add that Piltdown Man, the Piltdown find, was considered significant for about a decade after its discovery. It wasn't exposed as a fraud until 40 years after its discovery, but a decade after it was found, the importance of the find to human evolution was marginalized because of the fact that other finds started coming out. That's when in the 1920s the Tong child, the Australopithecines came out of Africa. The Java man find that I discussed earlier and such. So other finds in human evolution told the opposite story of what Piltdown was suggesting. So most scientists worldwide, with the exception of a few in England, believed that Piltdown maybe was an aberrant offshoot of the human lineage, an early experiment in human evolution that went extinct. It wasn't important. It wasn't something that you hailed as the messiah of evolution. And like I said before in my previous series, if a couple of scraps of bone found in a gravel pit in England could destroy billions of people's faith, then I don't have, well, I can't put much stock in how strong that faith was to start with.
Nebraska Man was a work of evolutionary art. All that was found in Nebraska Man was a piece of a broken tooth. But evolutionists are very creative. From that broken tooth, they not only recreated Nebraska Man and his family, but even the tools they would have worked with from a piece of a broken tooth. It was later proven the tooth came from an extinct pig. And there's the real Nebraska Man right there.
And again, Nebraska Man, same shit as with Piltdown. You know what? If you honestly think, that Nebraska Man was ever a significant find in the study of human evolution, if you believe that one tooth was crowned worldwide as the most important find in whatever, if you think that it attracted any more attention other than a small handful of scientists who actually published saying it could be a fossil human, it could be a fossil ape, it could be a fossil pig, we don't know enough about it at this point in time, so we're reserving judgment. If you think that tooth has great significance in the history of science, that it's a black mark, that we all should be ashamed of it as scientists, then I'm going to say I don't know why you're wasting your time watching my series, because you're fundamentally unteachable and pig fuck ignorant.
In 1932, Louis Leakey, famous founder of the Leakey clan of 8 men finders, discovered a lower jawbone. It was crushed into about 40 pieces. It had all apes' teeth. But he reconstructed those 40 pieces into the shape of a human jawbone, and thus was born Ramapithecus, the missing link.
Almost 100% accurate there, Russ. Just a little bit off. Because Ramapithecus was found by G. Edward Lewis, not Louis Leakey. It was discovered in India. It wasn't in 40 pieces. It was actually in 3. But other than that, you were dead on.
Once again, for 45 years, Ramapithecus adorned textbooks, misleading hundreds of millions of people. Then in 1977, it was proven it was the jawbone of an orangutan. After misleading millions and millions of people.
I need to make just a few minor corrections here again. So yes, Ramapithecus was discovered in 1932. However, after its discovery, it wasn't thought to be that important. In fact, most people, while the discoverer thought it was important, the majority of scientists who studied ape fossils believed it was just one of the Dryopithecines or one of the Civipithecines. There's a bit of a debate as to where it fit. Nobody thought it was a human fossil. It wasn't until 1961 when Elwin Simmons did a revision of the Civipithecids and Dryopithecids, Asian groups, and he looked at the Ramapithecus and said, this does look kind of like a potential ancestor of humans. And so he revised it. That's when it sort of joined the human family tree. It was in 1961, not in 1932. David Pilbeam in 1975 officially debunked it, not 77 as you said, the publication was in 1975, when more material was found and the Civipithecines, Ramapithecus was discovered to be a fairly typical civipithecid, a little bit smaller than usual, but not overall similar enough that it certainly belongs to that genus. So 1961 to 1975, let's see, do some math, that's 14 years, not 30. And it was shown to be a civipithecine, not an orangutan. Civipithecids are the group that orangutans belong to overall. Do you see the difference? It wasn't an orangutan. You might say, of all of the living apes, the orangutan is the closest living relative of Civipithecus. But it's not right to say that Civipithecus was an orangutan. You use that, you show that, because it makes the claim even that much more ridiculous now, doesn't it?
A kid studying to be a dentist gave me his advanced biology book. He said, Russ, look through my book and pick out some frauds. Well, I don't really have any place to put the frauds, but he wanted me to look through it, so I did so, and I was flipping through the book, and there was the drawing of Ramapithecus' teeth. That caught my eye. So I stopped, and now, 30 years later, they put the drawing back in the textbook with a new name. They now call it Civipithecus. And they say, kids, civipithecids are more closely related to humans. This genus now includes the animal formerly known as Ramapithecus, proven to be an orangutan 30 years ago.
All right, I covered this in a lot of detail, and I apologize for repeating it, but I have to repeat this. This is, if you have any doubt about the level of honesty that Russ Miller has, again, as I said in the first time I covered this material, buckle up. So here's Russ's original slide. As you can see, as he's pointed out, it says civipithecids are more closely related to humans. This genus now includes the animal formerly known as Ramapithecus. Boy, it sounds like us sneaky little bastards. We're trying to sneak this fraud back into those textbooks again. We're trying to pull something over on you guys, but luckily Russ caught it before we could get away with it. So because I have reason to doubt some of the accuracy of Russ's words, I decided to email both authors of this textbook, Vertebrate Life, because I don't have this edition. And both of them were kind enough to respond, and I will read you Janice's email to me when after I'm back from this section here. However, when you look at what they actually wrote, this is where it gets kind of to me. You tell me, do you think he accurately shows what the authors intended? In yellow is the quotes that he took. But the full quote is, this probably won't show up, so I will read it. The later Cenozoic Eurasian hominoids include the Dryopithecids and Civipithecids, which are more closely related to the great apes and humans than are gibbons. Perhaps the best known of these fossil apes is Civipithecus. This genus now includes the animal formerly known as Ramapithecus. Okay? I think it's pretty clear that the words he took out significantly changed the meaning of the sentence. He's trying to imply that the authors are saying that civipithecids are closely related to humans, when what the authors are doing is taking the clade, the great ape clade, which includes humans, and contrasting it with the lesser apes, the gibbons. Okay, do you see? What he took out was inexcusable. What he took out changed the meaning to force fit it into what the story that he's trying to tell, that these sneaky little bastards are trying to get away with something. And that's lying. That is despicable. And I've repeatedly asked Russ in PMs and emails to explain this. And he seems to skip over it every time in his responses to me. He has yet to actually say, yeah, I lied, or I made an honest mistake. There's no honesty involved in this. But nonetheless, yeah, I think it's clear. Hey, I was thinking about it, and I'm not going to read her email. I realized I was kind of thinking about it, and she didn't give me permission to share it, so I'm not going to. I think this is plenty. One thing I forgot to mention. Now he claims that a student showed him this textbook, right? And he saw the drawing of Ramapithecus, and that encouraged him to look further. I forgot to mention that drawing that he's showing here of the teeth of Ramapithecus, that's not in that textbook. There's no illustration of Ramapithecus in Vertebrate Life 4th edition that he got this from.